All right, we're back with the 1995 Honda Cr250. Today is the day we get to the bottom of the horrible bog this thing has. So if you guys missed the last two videos on this bike, we picked it up for $2,000, probably a little more than a month ago now. And the seller said it had a horrible bog, and we ended up going through the whole bike, checking everything over. Everything looked good. Then I noticed that the power valve wasn't working, so we checked that and actually tore down the clutch area last video. Put all new gaskets on the top end, got the power valve back together, and it was working for a little bit, but I went to go take it for a test drive and it stopped working and continued to bog. So we never got rid of the bog. Checked the carburetor, the reeds, the crank seals, the spark plug, all the electrical components we checked, and they all ohmed out. We checked for a clogged pipe. Everything was gone through and checked, and it still has this bog. So I'm thinking it's the power valve not opening. So it could be a couple different things. Could be the governor is not working properly, or it could be that there's an air leak, so it's never really hitting that high RPMs, allowing the power valve to open. So if you look in here, this shaft right here, as you hit the throttle, this is the power valve shaft right here, holding the power valve, that pin should move a full 90 degrees over to the H right here. And it's not doing that. All right, we're gonna get this thing fired up. That vertical line on the shaft there is supposed to go horizontal as you hit the throttle, and those power valves are supposed to open. They're not opening at all. So I was just spraying some brake cleaner around all the possible air leak spots on this bike. We've got the crank seal on this side. We checked that last video. It looked good, but looks can be deceiving sometimes. So we were just spraying in there, and it should rev up or like idle really far down if it's sucking in that fuel, that brake cleaner. Now I was going around the boot here, around the manifold, no change in idle there either. Yeah, we're gonna continue to spray around here and just see. We'll go on the other side of the manifold too. Yeah, so I don't think it's an air leak. We went around all the spots and the idle stayed pretty consistent. Take the pipe off. It's gonna be really loud. Here we go. And with the pipe off, didn't move at all. We cleaned off all the carbon last video. Everything was gone through. So it should be pretty perfect in there. Alright, so you can see this is all the way back as far as it can go. And that should go like that. What we're gonna do is make a small adjustment to right here. I just wanna see if you give it a little help, if it'll finally go. So we're gonna put it to like right there, and we'll see if it goes the rest of the way. But it's almost like that's getting stuck. So you can see power valves move freely. We're gonna watch that rod. We're gonna see if that rod moves. See, that's the rod that's supposed to move the power valves. So we can start this thing up and just see if that's moving at all. Alright, so you guys saw that. That rod is actually spinning in there, and that's moving. Why aren't the power valves moving when that's hooked up? So that rod is actually moving, so it should be moving this. And there's like no resistance there. It's really easy to move. So I'm not really sure what's going on. We're gonna try to tighten it down like right there and see if that makes a difference. Maybe it'll move with a little bit of help here. So before this was all the way back. Let's see if it'll move it all here now. Start this thing back up. Alright, that's working now. You can see that go all the way back, and you can see this whole mechanism moving freely. So that little adjustment seemed to help. Unfortunately, right now, that's going to mean that the power valves are a little open on startup. So we're going to lose a little bottom end if we have it like that, I believe. We'll try riding it like that and see, but it definitely moves a lot better. When we had it all the way back, it's like it didn't have enough leverage or strength to pull that power valve and open it all the way. So that is very interesting. Seems to be working pretty good now. We'll start it up one more time just to make sure. But that's going all the way back like that, which would open those power valves. Those are working pretty good. Alright, we'll put the pipe back on, try to ride this thing, see if it's fixed. Alright, so power valves are now officially working. Let's see if we can get this carb jetted properly. I'm thinking it's just going to need a needle clip position change. We're going to try going leaner with it. So we'll get that out. let's see where we're at right now. We're right in the middle. So that's the stock jetting. This is stock, but sometimes it still needs an adjustment. So to make it leaner, you want to move that clip up 1 notch. Right there. So now it's in the second from the top position here. And that makes it a little bit leaner. So we'll put that back in. See if that helps at all. Alright, it's still doing the same thing basically. It's a little bit better, but basically doing the same bogging. We do know the power valves are for sure opening. So as of this moment, the power valves are not the culprit. So we're going to rejet the carb a little bit leaner and see if that fixes our problem. It's pretty close. It wants to open up. I can hear it. So maybe just a rejet with the carb now that the power valve is working will fix our problem. Change the main jet over. Let's see what the heck happens here. If nothing happens with this change, we know it's something else. So we're not going to spend all day rejetting it. Alright, what's in there right now? 175 is in there. Let's try to find a 170 and put that in. Alright, we found a 170. You can see right there. So let's put that in. See if that makes a difference here. Alright, just got done with the test drive with the 70 and no change. Putting the 80 for the main jet in, no change. So I think we can rule out jetting right now. changing that needle quit position does nothing either. It still bogs and breaks up on the top ends. All right, got this thing back home in the garage. We now know it's not the power valves. 100% sure, not the power valves. 100% sure, not the jetting. The jetting should be spot on. These are the recommended jets for the stock 1995 Cr250. So we shouldn't have to mess with jetting too much. It should be fine. But it is horrible riding this thing. It is boggy, it is bad. All right, about the millionth time taking this carb off. There we go. Wasn't super easy. So maybe we missed something in the carb here. Let's take a look. See what's going on. Slides in the right way, for sure. Yes. Oh, jeez. All right, perfectly clean. Looks perfect in the bowl. Float height still looks perfect. Needle float looks good. Needle looks perfect. It's a 175. Looks good. That's open, not clogged. Air screw, 1.5 turns out. So that is perfect. Looks good. Yeah, it's working. Make sure these hoses are not clogged, the vent lines. Yep, that blows through. Yep, that blows through. So I'm not seeing anything wrong with the carb at all. All right, we're looking at the carb diagram, making sure nothing's missing. And it looks like we're missing number 19. And they have that labeled as buffer plate. So I looked that up because I wasn't really sure what that did. I always see them in carburetors, but I never really thought they did much. But it turns out that that actually keeps fuel down by the main jet when you're going over bumps or rough terrain or jumps. So it keeps the gas right next to that main jet so that the main jet can suck it up easier. And you don't get aeration from it, and you get a steady flow of gas coming up through the main jet. Without that, I guess that sometimes it can be boggy. I think what we're gonna do is go grab my other bike, my 1998 Cr250. You guys haven't seen that bike in a while. I bought that like, what is it, 6 years ago now? I think they have the exact same part number for number 19. All right, sitting back there is the 98 Cr250. That hasn't been ran in quite a while, so let's try to get that out through this mess. Yeah, I think that carb will work. All right, here's the other bike. Let's rob the carb off of there and try to find that baffle. Looks to be the exact same carb, except it's got the little squirter here. Kind of like an accelerator pump, but it's just automatic. Alright, let's open up the 1998 Cr250 carb here. See what's going on. Oh, it's in there. Yeah, look how clean that is. That's been sitting with gas in it. That's crazy. So, that's why you don't use ethanol gas. That's the piece we're looking for, right there. See, that one had it. Let's see if it fits on this one. Aha! Right like that. Let's see if that makes a difference. All right, we got that buffer in the carb. Carb's all back on. Let's see what happens. Alright, unfortunately having a little buffer piece in the carburetor was not the fix. Still bogging just as bad. So, alright, we're going to try swapping carbs. We brought the 1998 Cr250 carb. Let's throw that on there and just see what happens. Like I said before, this is the only difference, the little squirter. And the jets are the same. So 55 for the Pilot, 175 for the main. There we go. Alright. Gotta get this to fit in here now. We've got the other carb on there. Let's see if she fires up now. Alright, unfortunately other carb made no difference, still doing the same thing. So we can completely rule out the carburetor. We tried a million different jets, tried different needle positions, tried swapping the carb, tried swapping that little baffle out of the carb, nothing worked, and then we tried swapping the whole new carburetor in that I know is on a good running bike, and that did not work. So we can completely rule out the carburetor. All right, we were able to rule out the carb completely. We're going to swap coils and see if it is the coil, even though that tests out, because you never know. Still could be missing at high RPMs. Let's get this one off. Go. Alright, we'll see if this coil works here. Plug this one into here. Like that. Make sure that's grounded out. To there. Ooh, that's where we're gonna run into a problem. We're gonna have to ground it like that. Coil's a little bit bigger. The other one. Let's see if we get spark here. See if you guys can see it. Oop. Alright, see if that makes a difference. Alright, we got the coil on, started it up, took it for a ride, and it's doing the same thing. So now we know 100% it's not the coil. Or the reeds, kind of rule those out. It's on there. Alright. Let's really look over the manifold. Make sure there's no rips in it. We kind of checked this out when we did the brake cleaner test, where we sprayed brake cleaner in there, and it didn't look like there was an air leak around the manifold at all, so we should be fine there. There's a gasket on this one, so. That reed is a little open right there, see that? But the rest are really good. Just a slight opening in that reed. See that? You can see light through it. I don't think that would make it bog that much though. Alright, we just took the reeds off the 1998. Here are the reeds from the 1995. So we're going to swap the gasket over. And then we've got the manifold from the 1998 right here as well. They're the exact same, so it shouldn't make a difference, but we'll just see. Maybe there was a weak reed or something causing issues, or maybe there's a leak in the manifold we can't see, so we'll swap these over. And again, the 1998's a good running bike, so let's just see what happens when we swap it over. Well, as you could hear from the video, swapping the reeds and the manifold made absolutely zero change. So now we know that the manifold and the reeds are not the problem. So now the carb, manifold, reeds, spark plug coil, power valves, air filter, not the problem. So it's gotta be either something with the piston and cylinder or the bottom end. Either a seal is slightly gone in there, or there's like a crack somewhere, or something, because this is not making any sense. Everything checks out. And we tested the stator last video, that checked out as well. So I don't know what the heck is going on. Our only option at this point is to tear everything down and start fresh. Alright, we'll start by draining the coolant out of here. Probably gonna be really hot. I've been riding this thing all day and all day yesterday. Alright, plug looks a little gray, you can see. Disconnect this. Let's loosen that up. And there's a little pin that on. Crisscross pattern. Those were choked down good. I don't see any leaking from the head at all. Oh man. Yeah, I had them torqued down pretty good. Head looks perfect. Looks immaculate in there. I mean, come on. Looks perfect. I see a lot of metallic flakes. Get this cover off. You can see some metal flakes in there. I think that's from that clutch fill. Everything looked good there. Water pump spinning good. Is take off the cylinder and just see if there's any oil in the crankcase, because maybe that seal was leaking right there. It's kind of what I'm thinking. So let's get the cylinder off next and just kind of confirm that there's no oil in there. Alright, so I'm actually seeing a little oil. If you look right there, yeah, that's oil. That's not gas and oil. And the piston is really coated. Looks like there's a little blow by on the rings here too. Right there. Yeah, right down in that corner, there's some oil. See that? We're gonna look down in the crankcase and see if there's any oil in there. All right, looking down in here. Hard to see anything. Yeah, it doesn't look like a lot. Yeah, it doesn't look like too much going on in there. It's pretty clean. Oh, what the heck is that? Is there supposed to be a hole right there? Why is there a hole right there? That looks like that's cracked a little bit. I didn't see that crack last time. Look, there's a crack where that bolt screws into. Does that go all the way through? Oh, that goes all the way through. Look at that. There's a hole going into the crankcase. Well, that would cause a major air leak. Unless, of course, the bolt sealed it. But that's a pretty big hole going through the crankcase, and there's that crack right there you can see. So I think this is supposed to be closed up. I don't think the screw is supposed to go all the way through like that. So maybe just a little bit of oil or air was getting through, causing it to suck air from the crankcase. Huh. I wonder if that's what caused it. Because there's no other holes going through the crankcase. And if the seal were to be leaking, it'd be the same as that hole. Just direct access from the clutch area to the crank. And that would not be good. I think that's the problem right there. It's gotta be. It's gotta be. We will take this gear off and make sure that that seal is sealing. It appears to be sealing. It is punched in a little bit right there, but that lip is still sealing on the surface of the spacer there. So I really don't think it is the crank seal, but that hole is concerning. Let's just see what it looks like when you put a bolt through there. All right, here's the bolt that was going through there. You can see the threads aren't very long. So let's just see what that would have looked like going through. I don't know where it would have stopped though. Must have shot through there. Oh, it's still loose, look at that. Look how loose that is in there. I think because of the crack, it's really loose, so there's air definitely could have gotten through there. See that? Look at that play in there. So that would be sucking in air from the clutch cover side over there. Yeah, that's gotta be the problem. Direct air leak or oil leak going into the crankcase. See if there's any oil in there. we can get that crank seal out and just make sure there's no oil in there. All right, just get the seal out and look at the oil behind the seal there. And then you can see the oil pooling right there. So crank seal is leaking. See the oil in there? So combination of the crank seal leaking and that hole in the case was definitely the problem. Yeah, look at all that oil leaking in there. So that's what caused the bogging. In order to get this repaired, we're gonna need a whole new case, unfortunately. So we'll have to see if eBay has a case for us. I'm sure they're not cheap, but yeah, you don't want to mess around with a hole going directly into the crankcase right there. I don't think that can be welded either. It maybe can. But then you've got this thing too, sticking out of there. So yeah, that case half is pretty beat up. We might look around for a case and obviously get new crank seals for this thing and then put this thing back together, and I think that's gonna solve our issue. It was definitely leaking oil in through there. You can see the oil at the bottom of that seal, clear as day. So that wouldn't just be in there, you know, have to be leaking through. And that is crankcase oil. You can see the color. And then the air leak there. So I'm almost 100% sure that was the problem, because we checked everything else. So it's gotta be. So next video, we will work on that, get that repaired, and then we'll see if that fixed the bogging problem. It's gotta be the issue. But I hope you guys enjoyed going through the process of getting rid of this bog. I spent 2 full days riding this thing, test driving this thing, swapping components from the 1998 Cr250 over to the 1995, and everything swapped over perfectly and worked perfectly, but we could not get rid of that bogging. So that's why we tore it back down, and I missed this the first time. I assumed the crank seal was fine because it looked like it was sealing, but it was not, and I assumed that that hole should be there. I didn't even check that. So, a couple mistakes on my end, but at least we now know the culprit of the bogging. So thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for subscribing. Stay tuned for next video, and until next time, we are out.